You guys, I just witnessed what has to be the most accidentally comedic disaster in streaming history. Let me break this down for you. Season 2 opens with Meghan shooting inside a house that literally isn't even hers. That's right, she's using a $10 million rental property, while her real mansion down the street in Montecito is supposedly worth twice that amount. But she's desperately trying to sell you this fairy tale that this is her cozy little home where she naturally grows organic veggies and gently scatters rose petals like some domestic goddess. The tomatoes look suspiciously perfect. Every single flower is blooming simultaneously. The entire garden screams professional landscaping crew. Everything screams fake. And that perfectly captures what's wrong with this entire production. It's basically one massive lie wrapped up in fancy editing. And speaking of lies, Meghan's groundbreaking cooking wisdom for her bestie Daniel, who happens to be her personal makeup artist, is this earth-shattering revelation. Always keep puff pastry stocked in your freezer. That's literally episode 1's big cooking breakthrough. Not techniques, not recipes, not skills, just buy frozen pastry. This is what she calls hosting a culinary show. Daniel, bless his heart, looks absolutely terrified to be there. Sure, he's smiling, but there's this trapped energy in his expression that's impossible to ignore, like he's desperately trying to signal SOS through his forced grin. Now here's where it gets really entertaining. Who's the major celebrity guest they landed? Oprah? The Obamas? Maybe George Clooney? Absolutely not. Every single A-lister has apparently blocked her number completely. Instead, we get Daniel, her makeup artist. That's the big season premiere guest. The same Daniel who has to deliver lines like, "This is incredible," while looking like someone's holding their family hostage backstage. But wait, there's more comedy gold coming. Meghan eventually brings in 2 legitimate chefs, David Chang and Christina Tosi, and suddenly the whole dynamic shifts dramatically. These are genuine professionals with real talent and natural screen presence. They walk in completely relaxed and confident because they actually belong on camera. Meghan, meanwhile, is performing like someone who learned human behavior from watching bad reality TV. The energy difference is absolutely jarring. Everyone else is being natural while she's grinning so intensely it looks genuinely uncomfortable. During one segment, she announces they're making an onion tart. Daniel immediately starts nodding like Meghan just discovered fire. Then comes this absolutely bizarre moment where Meghan lectures about puff pastry like she's revealing ancient secrets. "You should always keep puff pastry in your freezer," she declares, with the gravity of someone announcing a medical breakthrough. Daniel nods frantically again. Amazing insight, Meghan. We've officially entered cooking cult territory. But here's the most revealing part. At one point, Meghan delivers this line about making baking more spontaneous and creative. Except she never actually said it during filming. It's completely dubbed over in post-production. Her lips aren't even moving. They literally recorded that line in a studio later and slapped it over footage like some weird propaganda technique. It's supposed to make her sound profound and wise. Daniel, who's speaking live in that same scene, immediately responds with "absolutely right" to words that never were spoken. His reaction is now responding to literal air. The entire moment becomes this creepy evidence that even Meghan's supposed wisdom needs to be manufactured in editing rooms. This show isn't just regular bad television. It's not simply boring or cringe. It's something far more captivating. It's so authentically fake and accidentally hilarious that it becomes fascinating entertainment for completely unintended reasons. Daniel wasn't the only victim stuck in Meghan's elaborate performance. Enter David and Christina, 2 respected chefs who probably expected a normal food segment with some light conversation. Instead, they walk straight into this theatrical ego exhibition. Meghan greets them with this over-the-top enthusiasm that feels like someone auditioning for daytime television. Right from the start, it's crystal clear this isn't actually about food. It's a monument to Meghan's self-image. And what's her opening move with these accomplished professionals? She presents them with scarves. Not elegant scarves, but these absolutely hideous homemade creations made through something called water marbling. It's this mind-numbingly boring craft where you drip ink into water and somehow transfer random patterns onto fabric. Even explaining the process feels torturous. But here's what's really happening. Meghan doesn't give gifts from generosity. Every single present is a calculated power move designed to establish hierarchy. Here's this weird thing I created. Now smile, express gratitude, and acknowledge my creativity. There's zero reciprocity, just forced appreciation from confused guests. Then we get to the actual cooking portion, and it's genuinely painful to watch. Meghan navigates the kitchen like someone who's watched cooking videos online, but never practiced anything in real life. She's awkward, uncertain, clearly nervous around basic appliances. She drops ingredients, struggles with simple techniques, and stares at the oven like it's about to attack her. This is someone who obviously has no business near cooking equipment. It's like watching someone's first day in a restaurant kitchen. And the food they're making? Fried eggs, frozen pastry, and marshmallows. That's not a meal. That's what college students eat at 2 a.m. But here's the incredible part. The guests have to act like it's revolutionary cuisine. They bite into these sad little tarts and perform like they've just experienced culinary enlightenment. One guest actually declares, "This has been one of the most incredible experiences of my life." The only logical explanation is that production has medical staff injecting guests with happiness drugs during commercial breaks. There's no other way to explain this level of theatrical overreaction. At some point, flower arranging becomes mandatory, because apparently, when Meghan exhausts her supply of scripted compliments and frozen food, she forces everyone into the garden to destroy perfectly good plants. The arrangements look absolutely chaotic, like someone threw random weeds into containers and hoped for magic. Somehow, this becomes a profound spiritual experience where everyone pretends to find deep meaning. Meghan even compares herself to ancient warriors. Seriously. She learns that samurai practice calligraphy and flower arranging, and suddenly she's glowing like she discovered royal bloodline connections. "Isn't it amazing that I do both?" she practically glows. The self-absorption is so pure, it's almost impressive. Later, during a graham cracker discussion, Meghan randomly suggests lavender honey as a flavor combination. You'd think she just cured world hunger based on everyone's reactions. The guests respond like she invented cuisine itself. Christina actually gasps, "That's absolutely brilliant!" Meanwhile, Meghan absorbs the praise like she's accepting a Nobel Prize. It's beyond uncomfortable. It's genuinely disturbing. Every single word she speaks gets treated like revolutionary thinking. Zero pushback, zero natural conversation, just adults walking on eggshells around her fragile ego like it might shatter. This isn't entertainment or education. It's a meticulously planned fantasy starring Meghan as the misunderstood creative genius, the perfect hostess, the wronged victim, the brilliant innovator, the spiritual warrior, the garden mystic, and the culinary mastermind, all packaged into one over-rehearsed, painfully artificial performance. The absolute peak of this fever dream arrives when Meghan delivers what's meant to be the emotional climax, a reflective speech about her personal journey. She sits with her completely defeated guests and declares with total seriousness, "There have been so many different chapters." The delivery is so dramatically self-important, you'd think she was describing surviving actual trauma, not climbing Hollywood's social hierarchy through game shows and celebrity events. It's less genuine reflection and more like practicing acceptance speeches in the mirror. Then, just when you assume it can't possibly get more absurd, they return to flower arranging again. Not casually, not as background activity. It's presented like sacred ritual. The chefs, the makeup artists, everyone gets dragged into picking garden plants and arranging them like they're creating historical artifacts. Meghan positions herself at the center like she's conducting this bizarre symphony, adjusting stems, praising colors, and literally gasping when a flower apparently speaks to her spiritually. Everything gets framed as life-changing. Every moment, every comment, every breath she takes is supposedly transformational, yet it all feels completely hollow. There's zero genuine warmth, zero natural interaction, just desperate attempts to seem impressive. Even when Chef David discusses his restaurant's zero-waste philosophy, Meghan immediately interjects with, "Exactly, me too." Because obviously, Meghan pioneered everything. If someone mentioned space exploration, she'd claim she once stargazed and it shaped her worldview. If someone discussed medicine, she'd say she watched a health documentary that transformed her perspective. Nothing can exist without being filtered through Meghan's supposed expertise. The moment that truly reveals how artificially controlled and fake everything is happens during kitchen conversation. Meghan makes that comment about spontaneous baking, except it's completely fabricated. The line is obviously added during editing. Her mouth stays completely still. It's been recorded separately and inserted like sneaky propaganda. It's not just poor production quality, it's deliberately misleading. The show is trying to sell her as thoughtful and wise by adding fake profundity after filming wrapped. That's not embarrassing, it's dishonest. To make it worse, Daniel, who's speaking naturally in that scene, immediately responds with "so true" to words that were never spoken aloud. Since she never said those words during filming, his agreement becomes this haunting reaction to absolutely nothing. The entire exchange becomes creepy proof that even Meghan's supposed insights need to be manufactured in sound studios later. Then the credits appear, and the very first credit reads, "Meghan, Duchess of Sussex." That's when everything finally makes sense. Despite all the chaos, the performance, and the artificial drama, this is the entire purpose. She desperately clings to that title like it's life support, as if those words automatically grant her credibility. She abandoned the royal family, publicly trashed their reputation, yet still uses their brand to sign her personal projects. It's not coincidence, it's calculated marketing. Because for Meghan, this was never about cooking or guests or genuine connection. It's about building a story where she's perpetually the main character, always the suffering hero, always the brilliant misunderstood artist. But the strategy completely backfires. The harder she tries to control perception, the more artificial everything appears. And the ironic twist is that the show actually succeeds perfectly at revealing exactly who Meghan really is, not through her carefully crafted words, but through the obvious cracks in her performance. The real Meghan isn't the gracious hostess we see smiling. She's the person absolutely terrified of authentic moments, desperately craving validation,